Hello again everybody and welcome back. This is Craig Peters from Sound Iron, and today we're going to be doing a technical walkthrough of the interface and some of the sounds that come with our newest library, Sonespheres 2 Origins. Sonespheres 2 Origins is the second installment in the Sonespheres series, created with film and television composer and longtime Sound Iron collaborator Blake Ewing, who's created each of the sounds by hand and carefully guided the overarching concept for the first Sonespheres volume with a very clear and artistic vision. Each edition includes a deep selection of new and inspiring presets with a full array of essential user controls to unlock virtually limitless creative potential. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so for any of you out there that are previous owners of any Sound Iron libraries, you'll see a lot of features that should be familiar to you. In this library, you have the ability to crossfade between two different sound sources, which is an excellent way to get a little bit more flexible with the different types of sounds that you have at your disposal. And you also have the ability to modify the filter, the LFO, there's the Arpeggiator that's built in, the glide knob, which is really cool for just getting a little bit more of a portamento style effect. Also too, there's the effects rack. So you have a bunch of different effects that you can use, like EQ, flange, chorus, phaser, delay, and a bunch of different reverbs that are included inside. Alright, so let's go ahead and check out some of the sounds. This is the sound that you're immediately going to get right out of the box with Sonespheres 2 Origins. And then the crossfade option is already enabled, so if you hold down a key and then you slide back and forth, you'll go between the source 1 and the source 2 sounds. So that's a great way to not have to have so many different instances and have to do a bunch of automation of different sounds in your DAW. You can do it right inside of the interface, which is a great way to sort of save time and RAM. So, all right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and play around with some of the different features and user controls that come within Sonespheres 2 and see what kind of sounds we can get. So what I wanna do first is sort of play around with the different sources. So right now I have bass 1 and then abyss is my preset. And then what I want to do is, let's go ahead and change the source sound for source 2. Yeah, let's try muddy. Let's see how this sounds. So that already has a really cool sort of soundtrack, sort of grindy sound to it. Now what we can do is let's go ahead and play around with the LFOs on the source 2 sound. Let's see, let's put it on Sawtooth. So you can hear how the LFO is already sort of starting to take effect. And then also what you can do is you can sync this to your host. So this little lock symbol that you see down here, you can go ahead and lock that so it locks in with the tempo in your DAW. Now let's go ahead and play around with the rate, the attack, and the depth. Now let's see how this sounds. Now this is sort of what I'm going for. I want to be able to cross between sort of a more bassy pad type sound to something that has a little bit more of a pulse to it. So that way I can sort of automate between a more pulsy rhythm and something that's a little bit more atmospheric. So you can see that's already starting to sound a lot more interesting than when we first started with. And also another thing that you can do is you can actually MIDI learn this feature, the crossfade feature, and you can learn it with any different MIDI CC controller that you have. So pretty much if you want to do that, what you do is just go ahead and right click where the X fade is. And then you'll see Learn MIDI CC. Go ahead and enable that. And then what you do is just find your MIDI controller that you have and then just move it. And you'll see it already starts to control it that way. So now we don't even have to do it like this, and we can actually automate it. And another thing you can do is if you actually record this in, you can later on draw in the automation yourself if you want to do it a little bit differently after the fact that you've already recorded it in. So that's really fun to play around with. All right, so next thing I want to do is show a little bit of what the Arpeggiator can do. So for this, I'm going to go ahead and switch from a bass sound to one of the keys. Within Sonespheres 2, we have the selection of bass and rhythms, keys and pads, drops and risers, a lot of different sounds that you would use in more trailer style music, film scoring, soundtracks, electronic music, all sorts of things of that nature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select one of the keys. I'm going to go to the banks. And let's do keys 2. And then I'm going to select rebus. Now, one of the first things I want to do is enable the Arpeggiator. And this is a really cool way to, if let's say you're not feeling too creative, the Arpeggiator is a great way to sort of get inspired by just coming up with rhythms that you wouldn't normally come up with and just playing around with it and just sort of seeing what happens. So what I want to do is I want to set this to 16th notes. And also you have the ability to randomize. You can adjust the swing, you can adjust the length. You can also save these as presets if you want. The modes basically allow you to control how the notes sort of fluctuate within each other. You can have them go down and up and down, zigzag. There's tons of different options that we provide to sort of maybe break you out of any sort of rut you might be in musically. Also, another thing you can do too is you can either just play it normally, or if you want to do the hold option where you can pretty much just play the keys, let go, and it'll keep playing for you. So, and that allows you to be able to move around a little bit more freely and not have to use the sustain pedal or anything like that. So, now that we have that set up, I'm going to go ahead and make it to where it's completely eighth notes. Now let's go ahead and just hold a chord and see what happens. So there's the Arpeggiator section, a great way to add a little bit more melodic value to your music. Now, one of my favorite aspects of this library is the rhythm patches, and what's really awesome about this is it's a great way to sort of get a pulse going and get inspired to even write around it as sort of a more pulsy rhythmic drone that you can use in the background. And so let's go ahead and check out one of those. This is one of my favorite ones. So this one's just the very first one that's in Rhythm 1 for the Rhythm 1 bank. And the preset's called Action. It's the very first one that loads up. So let's go ahead and see how this sounds. So you can see it already has that sort of action pulsy feel that you would hear in more soundtrack, movie scores, that sort of thing. So another thing too, if you look up here in the source one, you'll see that there's the lock symbol, and that's for tempo syncing to your DAW, for allowing you to lock this in with the tempo of your composition. So for this, we'll go ahead and leave this unclicked. And then what I want to do too is show you guys a little bit of the filtering that you can do. So within this, you have the ability to have different filter types. You can adjust the resonance and the frequency. So for this, we'll go ahead and we'll just select the very first one, which is the Legacy LP6. So this is with the resonance all the way up. You'll notice as you bring the resonance down, you hear more of the original sound. And if you look right here, you'll see that you can see the actual percentage of the resonance and the frequency. You'll see this actual percentage right here, which is a great visual representation of what you're actually doing. And with the frequency, you're basically adjusting the different frequency of that you're going to be boosting. So if you go ahead and adjust this, you'll see the actual frequency in this little box right here. So you see your 5K, 8K, 13K. You can go as low as 43 hertz to as high as 21K. So that's pretty high, and so you can boost any of these different frequencies that you want. So let's go ahead and set it to 3K, see what happens. So if I leave this right here and then move the frequency around, you'll hear the different frequency that's being boosted. And all of the different features and user controls that are included in this are automatable. So it's a great way to get a lot of control within just one instance of Sonespheres 2, which is awesome because it's less plugins you got to use within your DAW. Unless you have plugins that you favor the most, then you can use those as well. But you do have the option of being able to have tons of control and flexibility within Sonespheres 2. And also, this is a feature that is included in a lot of our different libraries. So definitely keep that in mind. And definitely, if you see something in this video that you think is helpful, try experimenting around with maybe some of the other libraries from SoundIron that you have, and playing around with it. And maybe you'll find some sounds that you wouldn't normally use, and see what you come up with. And another thing I want to make mention of is Sonespheres 2 is for the full version of Contact. If you do want to use this, you are going to need the full version of Contact. This isn't for the free Contact player. If you wanted another little quick tip for being able to load this in quickly, you have the option of using the quick load. So that allows you to just basically bring in any library that you have that's for the full version quickly that doesn't load up in the Libraries tab to the left. And for any of you out there that are currently owners of Sonespheres 1 Distance, Sonespheres 2 Origins I think is a great addition to that. They blend really well. It's both created by the same composer, so you definitely have a little bit more of different flavors and different ambiences, pads, keys, rhythms, bass drops, risers. So you can really add a lot of creativity and stylistic choices with both. So I want to thank you for watching. I hope you found this video valuable and hope you learned something. And if you want to learn more about Sonespheres 2 Origins, make sure to go to our website at soundiron.com for more info and demos. And make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, as we're going to be posting a lot more videos sort of breaking down this library. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.